Hey there everyone, this is Adamantium here again with yet another Maidstone Police fail video. I didn't think I'd keep having to bring you these, but as you will see in a minute, then I'm going to be bringing you even more. Now, I'm not going to jabber on for too long because there's two separate exchanges that occurred that I'm going to be bringing you. But yeah, essentially, just to set the scene, of course, I decided to go on the corner again. This time, not in the usual spot, but about 5 minutes into it, you know in previous status updates, I told you about the guy who works in Peppermint coming out and being extremely abusive. Well, the following is footage of when he came up to start talking to me, so I thought I'd get on camera what he wanted to say to me, and you know, I'm not deliberately getting close to him. The fact that, you know, the vast majority of the video is just like this part of his face is because he chose to be that close to me. So I mean, he was trying to invade my physical space. In addition to, you know, his language was toned down, but then again, that's probably because he had a camera pointing at him. But here follows the little exchange, and this will be a little bit of proof as to the lie that the first police officer tries to tell me. But yeah, here's the little exchange of the guy from Peppermint, and how he tried to, he completely refused to acknowledge anything that I was saying. It was like, you know, you're a pain. Well, not to the vast majority of people who interact with me. So whether I'm a pain or not is a bit subjective, because people have complained to me in the past, but they formed the minority. But anyway, here's the little bit from the exchange that I had with this gentleman. Okay, so well, I'm in a public area, sir.
You're a pain.
As per
You're a pain.
Sir, can you listen,
You're an
please?
Absolute pain. I've listened to you all morning.
Listen to. I've only been going for 5 minutes.
What it is, I've got to listen to you all morning. Right?
I haven't been here.
You're saying I've got to listen to you all morning. I
make a point of starting at noon, meaning I'm not here during the morning.
Alright, I'll make a point of starting at 9 because I'm working for a living. That's what I'm doing. All I'm trying to do is get a living.
This is what I do, as per Article 10, Article 10 of the Human Rights Act.
Tell you what, your human rights, my human rights are the same. I don't have to listen to you. You don't have to listen to me. So why don't you go and do it somewhere else, and then I ain't got to listen to you. You ain't got to listen to me.
We're in a public area. I can do this if I want.
We ain't got to do it.
We're in a public area, sir. I can do whatever I want. Oh, hello. Thanks very much. There we go. What a wonderful, nice gentleman, eh? Yeah, he's the guy who's been coming out of Peppermint. I presume he works there, but yeah, he's the one who's come out and like swore at me before, telling me to F off. And all that stuff, but he was kind of restrained in this exchange, probably because he had the camera in his face. But yeah, that's that. Coming up now is about 20 minutes later. I was approached by this officer, and for those of you who find him familiar, you will find him familiar, and you'll see why. What's your gripe now, officer?
I haven't got a gripe. Are you recording and ready to listen to what I have to say?
Yeah, I'm recording. Okay,
I'm PC 10025 Delta from Maidstone Police Station, as you well know. I've received a complaint from this lady here, and I've witnessed also the fact that you're shouting on your bullhorn today, and it's causing a noise nuisance to the lady and affecting her business. She's asked you to move once already. I'll investigate that, along with being a public nuisance. I will report it to the relevant authorities, obviously, for you being a noise nuisance.
Right,
do you
sir.
Understand that, or?
No, I do not understand,
okay,
sir.
That's
because
all I'm going to say to you in respect of that, whether you understand.
So with that in mind, because I have not understood, I therefore stand within common law jurisdiction, Not within your jurisdiction,
okay, listen,
sir.
if you carry on like you have done, and you carry on being a nuisance, then relevant things will happen.
We have already.
Order warning.
No, I have not.
You put it on YouTube.
I did not consent to the public order warning, therefore it was not applicable to me.
So carry on. I'm asking you to turn it down politely, and we'll investigate the noise thing politely.
Right.
If you
well,
carry on causing a nuisance
can
to the
I?
lady, then we will effectively deal with you.
Well,
do you
since
understand me?
no, I do not. No, I don't understand. Am I obliged to give you my details?
I already know your details, but I'm asking you. Do you want to give me your details?
Am I obliged to?
Do you want to?
Am I obliged to?
I'm not going to get into one of these long, silly conversations.
I'm just asking if I'm obliged to, sir.
I've asked you to do something. It's up to you whether in the
Okay, well, can I? Is it okay if I just ask you a couple of questions, sir?
No, because they're only going to be
Right. Well, as you can tell, the cop doesn't want to answer any of my questions. This is obviously an infringement of Article 10 of the Human Rights Act. So this is going to go up on YouTube again. So there we go. Yep, the very same officer as before, Officer 10025. Obviously, he hasn't learnt his lesson. One of the things that he said to me before I started recording is that am I going to make this into another 40-minute video? And you know, not immediately twigging that it was the wrong video that he'd heard about. Because the first video, you know, if he would have been referring to any video, he should have been referring to the one that he was in, which was just over 20 minutes. But not immediately twigging on that. I said, "Oh, you've seen it then?" And he's like, "No, but I've been told about it." So, you know, it seems that Maidstone police officers, they all act upon second-hand information, but actually no. Granted, in part, he is acting on first-hand information, which I will come to in a minute. But yeah, he obviously hasn't learnt his lesson. He's still thinking that he can try his games with me, and you know, as my first Maidstone Police Fail video illustrated, he completely failed there, and he's completely failed here as well, because nothing has come of any of his threats or anything like that, which we'll get into in a minute. But same officer, you know, slightly different, you know, excuse, but same outcome, basically. Okay. What's your gripe now, officer?
I haven't got a gripe. Are you recording and ready to listen to what I have to say?
Yeah, I'm recording.
Okay, I'm PC 10025 Delta from Maidstone Police Station, as you well know. I've received a complaint from this lady here, and I've witnessed also the fact that you were shouting on your bullhorn today.
Okay, what's different about this scenario with him now is that the lady that he received a complaint from was standing next to us. I didn't film her, but essentially he was trying to think that because he had this lady stood next to him, it's going to give him grounds of any kind. But no, not really. But no. He makes his first lie of the exchange when he says, "I've observed myself the fact that you are shouting on your bullhorn." Now, when someone says those words to you, like say for example, if you say to someone, "Oh, that guy, he shouts on his bullhorn," that very phrase, it implies so much negativity and aggression, but it's not actually true. I mean, what makes it a lie is that he's claimed it as a fact that I am shouting. Now, for those of you who are familiar with what I do, you'll know that I don't shout. I have a megaphone, therefore I don't need to shout. And also, you know, I've never heard of a megaphone referred to as a bullhorn except by this officer. So he's probably loud hailer. Yeah, that sounds kind of negative, but bullhorn definitely does sound like a deliberately negative word to use for this device that I'm using. So right there, you have lied. You have said that you've observed yourself the fact that I'm shouting on my bullhorn. Well, first of all, I don't consider it a bullhorn per se. I consider it a megaphone, right? But to me, that sounds like a better title for it. And second, I do not shout. So therefore, I call you out for dishonesty. Okay, now that isn't that the common law offence of fraud? I don't know what the civil law equivalent of that would be. Possibly attempting to pervert the course of justice. Possibly, I don't know. But there's his first lie on this exchange. But there's that.
It's causing a noise nuisance to the lady and affecting her business.
Okay, now he's saying that I'm a noise nuisance. Not that I'm committing a noise nuisance, but that I am a noise nuisance. I would consider that an ad hominem, because the proper way to say it is that I am committing a noise nuisance. But even so, the only statute that would apply to that is Part 3 of the Environmental Protection Act 1990, which it pertains to statutory nuisances and clean air, which states, which section 1 subsection GA states, and I quote, "Noise that is prejudicial to health or a nuisance and is emitted from or caused by a vehicle, machinery or equipment in the street." Now, with that in mind, if the lady has reason to call the police on me because I am being a noise nuisance, then how come she's not saying anything about any of the emergency vehicles that come through there? During that day, there was a cop car that went past with its sirens blaring. There was an ambulance. They stopped in near the top of Gabriel's Hill for some reason. I think there was some sort of medical emergency near the top of Gabriel's Hill. But she's not complaining about the sirens or about the buses going past, because let's get the geography of this correct, right? This lady supposedly lives in the accommodation above the Peppermint Shoe Shop, right? Now, the Peppermint Shoe Shop is on a corner right next to a main road where buses, taxis, cars are going past all the time, all day, every day, right? So don't you think if I'm a noise nuisance, then don't you think everything else that makes as much noise as me, and in fact more noise than me, is also a noise nuisance? Don't you think? But also he said that it's affecting her business. Well, anything can affect business. Someone, seeing an advertisement on a billboard can affect, like, say for example, if you're going to go to a shoe shop and then you see a billboard sign for another kind of shoe that that this shop doesn't do, then the very seeing of that billboard does affect your business, doesn't it? So you can't actually claim that me speaking my mind in a public area, or maybe even on a megaphone, is an affectation of her business, when there isn't even any proof of that anyway. They can't even prove that. If they get testimonials from loads and loads of different people who can actually are brave enough to testify in court that they were going to go to that place of business and they were going to give their custom, but because of me, solely because of me, they chose not to give their custom to the Peppermint Shoe Shop. If they can get loads of people to do that, then they may at least possibly have a point. But even then, because I've now said it on the video, I've now laid a precursor to it. So if they do it, then it's probably likely that they've seen this video and then thought, he's given us a reason to to have something against him. Well, no, that doesn't, because hearsay is not acceptable. Okay, they have to have proof, irrefutable proof, that my activities are having an adverse reaction, adverse effect on their business. Okay, you can't just claim, oh no, it's affecting my business. Well, what laws are there to affect business? You know, we stop business all the time, right? The very fact that, you know, the BP oil spill had to be dealt with, that was an intervention on business. So you're saying that so it's fine to, you know, not affect businesses that aren't, you know, abjectly or blatantly affecting the environment. Never mind that, you know, the wanton production and resale of shoes is a waste of resources anyway, the finite resources of this planet. Never mind, you know, that, but it's only on the blatant things where, you know, we cause an oil spill. We can, you know, we can intervene into that business, but not any other business. So where's the line of distinction there, you know?
She's asked you to move once already.
Okay, and here was his second fraud of the exchange. He said that she had asked me to move on, you know, prior. No, she hadn't. I'd never seen that woman before in my life anyway. Right? I guess, you know, it could be construed as the partnership, because you know, I'm assuming that woman is the wife of the guy who came up to me before, you know, the guy who always, like, is verbally abusive to me. I'm assuming that they're husband and wife, and they both run the business as a husband-wife team. But even then, that, you know, I'm assuming, you know, I'm making that as an assumption on my part. I can't assume that they're husband and wife. You know, she could be, you know, she could be someone from another shop. Like, she could be someone from Burger King. I don't know. But you know, that's the second lie that he made, because he didn't say that her husband has asked you to move on. No, he didn't say that. By saying that, it would be truthful and it wouldn't be fraud. But no, he said she has asked you to move on, right? But she hasn't. So therefore, you know, whether it was an intentional lie or an unknowing lie, it's still a lie on his part. I try to be as truthful as I can with everything. You know, I make notes on things, I back things up. You know, if I don't know things, I say that, you know, I don't know, because there's an example later on in the second encounter that dictates that I don't necessarily know. So, you know, I try to be as truthful as I can at all times. But this officer is being intentionally dishonest, okay, and I consider that a breach of the common law offence of fraud. So there's that.
I'll investigate that, along with being a public nuisance, and will report it to the relevant authorities, obviously, for you being a noise nuisance.
Okay, now he's saying that he's going to report me to the relevant authorities. Well, go ahead, mate. I've interacted with environmental enforcement officers before, and they've tried to gain jurisdiction and joinder or whatever on me, but they've failed every single time, because they realise that there's nothing I'm doing that they can actually nab me for, you know? So go ahead, report me to the relevant authorities. In fact, if he was being maybe efficient about that, then he would have maybe alerted the nearest environmental enforcement officer in the area, one of which who actually walked past me 1 or 2 hours later. By the way, the same environmental enforcement officer that on my second video that was trying to gain authority and telling me I was talking out of my arse, the same one who called me a dickhead. And apparently, I'm not sure about this, you know, I don't know whether this is true, but apparently the same one who faced disciplinary action because of how she's spoken to me, she walked past me about 2 hours after this whole exchange. She didn't say a word to me, she didn't even acknowledge me. So don't you see how a hollow threat that was to, oh, I'm going to report you to the relevant authorities? Well, go ahead. They're not going to do anything, just like you're not going to do anything. Right,
Do you
sir?
understand that, or?
No, I do not understand,
Okay.
sir,
That's
because...
all I'm going to say to you in respect of that, whether you understand.
So with that in mind, because I have not understood, I therefore stand within common law jurisdiction, not within your jurisdiction,
Okay,
sir. Okay, right here, notice you asked, do you understand? First attempt at jurisdiction here, denied because I said I do not understand. But he tried to claim that whether or not I understand, if I continued, then basically he would have the authority whether I understood or not. Well, that is probably because he either doesn't understand the legalese definition of understand, or he does know it, but he's just trying to get his own way anyway. But as you see from the video here, I am claiming common law jurisdiction. Okay, so from here on out, it makes everything he's saying null and void, because I have claimed common law jurisdiction and refused to consent to his jurisdiction.
You carry on like you have done, and you carry on being a nuisance, then brilliant things will happen.
Okay, whoa. Serious things will happen? Whoa, what kind of empty threat is that, mate? Seriously. I mean, it was like, yeah, if you don't do what I'm gonna say, serious things are gonna happen. Well, big deal. Sorry, you don't scare me, alright? Sorry. We have already...
warning.
No, I have not.
You put it on YouTube.
I did not consent to the public order warning, therefore it was not applicable to me. Okay, here he's trying to probably at least pretend that his public order warning actually had any legal credence whatsoever, when in fact I've proven on my very first video, when I first encountered him, that I did not consent to it, therefore it does not apply. You know? It does not apply. I did not consent to it. Even if I uploaded it onto YouTube, it doesn't give it any legal credence, right? Because it's up on YouTube, and he said, you know, I think I remember his words correctly, your warning's been given, right? I could say anything to you down this camera, just because it's going to go up on YouTube doesn't give it any legal basis, does it? So, regardless of whether the first video is up on YouTube, which by the way he has not seen, he hasn't even seen the second video that he referred to, but he hasn't seen either of them, so he can't even say whether or not he knows any of this to be a fact, because he hasn't even analysed the information, or even reviewed it, or even considered well, he may have considered watching it, but he hasn't watched it, as per, you know, the thing that he told me before when, you know, when he referred to the video, and I'm like, oh, have you seen it? It's like, no, but I've been told about it. Well, please, I urge you, please, Officer 10025, please watch my first Maidstone Police fail video. Please. Okay? It explains to you how I didn't grant you authority over me, how your public order warning did not take effect and thus is null and void and has no legal basis, and shows how knowing your rights is actually better than being ignorant of the law, because ignorance of the law excuses no man. Alright? But yeah, there's that.
So carry on. I'm asking you to turn it down politely, and we'll investigate the noise thing politely.
Right.
If you
well,
carry on causing a nuisance
can
to the lady, then we will effectively deal with you.
Well, now listen to his tone of voice there. When he first says "carry on," it's as if to imply, "All right, mate, carry on." You know, as in I give you the authority to carry on, or I'm going to allow you to carry on, or you can carry on. And then he goes on to flip-flop and say, if you carry on, then, you know, blah blah blah, back to the prior threat. And wait a minute, they're gonna effectively deal with me? I beg your pardon? Deal with me? What? How? What, by wrestling me to the ground? By sticking a boot in my face? How? How are you gonna effectively deal with me, Officer 10025? How? How are you lawfully or even legally gonna effectively deal with me when I don't even grant you jurisdiction or joinder in the first place? how are you going to deal with me? Well, how you're going to deal with me is you're going to walk away with your tail between your legs. Got it? Is that understood? Well,
Do you understand me?
No, I do not. No, I don't understand. Am I obliged to give you my details?
I already know your details, but I'm asking you, do you want to give me your details?
Am I obliged to?
Do you want to?
Am I obliged to?
I'm not going to get into one of these long, silly conversations.
I'm just asking if I'm obliged to, sir. Okay, now he's trying a different tack. He's now asking for my details. Now, for those of you who know your stuff, you'll know that this is an attempt to gain joinder, right? And even though I keep asking him, am I obliged to give you my details? And he even says, I already know your details, but are you going to give me your details? Well, if you need my right, if let's say for example, if the whole idea of joinder is bullshit, right? Let's just assume for a minute that joinder is bullshit, right? If a cop knows your details, they don't need to ask for them. Let's just assume that for just a second. He's already admitted that he already knows my details. So why the hell is he asking for them? Why is he asking? It's proof that they need that as joinder. It's even if they know your details, they require you to consent to give them your details and then to write them down in order for them to gain joinder over you. Right here, he has unknowingly confirmed the mechanism of joinder. Yeah? So, right there, and he keeps asking as well. I keep asking and I keep, you know, answering his question with a question, saying, am I obliged to give you my details? And he's like, do you want to? And he started sounding a bit desperate. He was like, do you want to? You know, it was, I was expecting him to go, please. But yeah, he keeps asking, keeps dodging my questions, and then he eventually says, you know, I'm not gonna get into a long silly conversation with you, basically saying, oh no, this is below me, sort of thing. No. Well, you refuse to answer any of my questions. You refuse to acknowledge that I'm not actually obliged to give you my details, which if you watch my previous police fail video, then you'll know that I'm not actually obliged to give details. She confirmed that numerous times. So why am I suddenly obliged to give him my details if, you know, if he's asking for them? He holds no higher rank than her as a police officer, as far as I'm aware. So, just because he has a cycle helmet on, does that mean he has the authority to ask for my details and the authority to dodge me asking him, am I obliged to? Because that is the thing. If he answered that question truthfully as a human being and as a police officer, then he would say, no, you're not obliged to give me your details. But are you going to give him my details? Am I obliged to? No. Oh, there we go then. That's it. Done deal. End of story. Full stop.
I've asked you to do something. It's up to you whether in the
okay, well, can I... Is it okay if I just ask you a couple of questions, sir?
No, because they're only going to...
And this is coming to the end of it now. He's revealing now that, you know, it's all a matter of request, not an order. Even though he does use the word order, he's basically saying that it's up to me if I adhere to any order that he advises. But if it's an order, then I'm obliged. Hence why it makes it a request. Hence why I keep asking, am I obliged to which he can't provide an answer for, and essentially he just starts walking away. And you know, and I wanted to know some things from him, so I asked him, you know, is it okay if I ask you a few questions? Like, no, and then he started to say something, but I mean, I tried again and again and again to watch the video to try and catch what he said right at the end, but I don't know what he said because he was walking away anyway. But there's that. What do I think of that encounter? Well, essentially, he's the first officer from my very first video. He doesn't learn his lesson about the fact that he tries to gain jurisdiction over me. I don't consent to his claim of jurisdiction and or authority. He tries again and again. This time he's now, you know, brought in an accessory into the matter, a woman who supposedly complained, even though she never said a thing to me. You know, she kept looking at me. You know, when he first came over, I kept thinking that that she